Have you entered adulthood and didn't know what the you're doing? Yes, me too. And that's why I'm here. I actually figured out some little things that I implemented in my life that changed it completely. Specifically, 12 micro habits that I'm going to share with you today, and that hopefully also help you as well to get your butt up from the couch and start living the life that you always meant for yourself. And I know you also cannot live without these tips. This list is kicking off with the easiest, most straightforward thing in the world that I'm sure you've heard 1,756 million times. That is an oddly specific number. But trust me when I say this, your mood and the way you approach your days is dependent on your hydration level. 100%. 300%, in fact. Listen, I am the first person out there who forgets to drink water constantly. But starting your day with a glass of water first thing in the morning is the best thing you can do for your body and for your brain. And maybe if you're like me and you just keep forgetting to drink water, maybe look for ways to remind yourself. Setting timers on your phone every so often, or sticky notes around the house, anything that helps you remember. Maybe you can become one of those cool girls with a Stanley Cup. Not like I'm jealous and I won one of those. Point is, stay hydrated. It's going to keep your brain clear and you're gonna feel like you have much more energy throughout the day. And no random headaches that you will wonder where they're coming from. This one is gonna be a tough one for a lot of people. I don't wanna make you mad, but you should be changing your morning coffee with a cup of matcha tea. And here is why. The main reason why I started doing this is because matcha contains so much less caffeine than coffee, obviously. If what I'm gonna say next resonates with you, you should do the same thing. My entire life, I had these lows at like midday, perhaps from 12 to 2 p.m. I was getting always so tired and I always was like, yeah, this is normal, I guess. It's just the time for me to get tired. And then I found myself wasting the entire day because I just had to take it up or I was just like too tired to do anything productive at all. And then I figured out matcha tea exists. Yes, I know. Shocker. This variation of green tea, which I might argue is the best one, in my opinion, has so many benefits, and one of them is the low amount of caffeine it contains. And the best part is this amount is enough to get you going through the day, and because it is released in such a controlled way and it's also not as much as a cup of coffee, this small amount of caffeine is just enough to get you through the day without this crazy low that one normally gets in the middle of the day. But also it contains an enzyme called L-theanine. In combination with the caffeine in the matcha tea, it gives you an amazing boost in brain functions. And that means your concentration and your focus improve because it's keeping you alert in a good, non-anxious way. Opposite from what coffee tends to do to us. And apart from that, it has so many other benefits. It's full of antioxidants. All the usual benefits that green tea, the normal kind, gives you are duplicated, basically. Perhaps even more than that, because it's way more concentrated. It protects your heart, your liver, your bones. It's great in stress relieving. It has overall everything you need to give your body the best thing you can first thing in the morning. I used to be a coffee addict. Not to say I still don't have coffee every now and then, but honestly, I reduced my coffee intake so much more since I started doing this in the morning. So 100% recommend. 1 cup a day is more than enough, maybe 2 maximum. More than that is also not very good for you because matcha is just really intense. It provides a lot in 1 single cup. So 1 to 2 cups of matcha tea a day, one of them at least first thing in the morning. Life-changing. Now, some may call me maniac for the next thing I'm gonna talk about, but I find that planning my week ahead, even more so, in the most detail I can, makes automatically my week more successful. Every Sunday, I sit down with my iPad, your journal, your agenda, whatever you need, whatever works for you. In my case, it's my iPad. I just write ahead every single thing that I must do in my week and all the things that I want to do. And I also highlight everything in different colors. Everything has a different meaning in terms of priority, and I try to make it as visual as as possible and as organized as possible so that each day that I wake up, I knew exactly what I need and want to do. So like this, I'm avoiding to waste my time trying to think, what do I need to get done? How do I want to get it done? When do I want to get it done? It's just draining, and like this, you're not going to get yourself to do half of the things. The ability to think as a human being is great, and it certainly separates us from other animals, but it sometimes, in my opinion, makes us get in our own ways. And that takes me to the next point. See what I did there? Be Nike. Nike. I don't even know. How do you say that correctly? Just do it. Don't think. Once I give my brain the chance to think about, oh, I need to do this. For instance, going to the gym. If you're not yet at the point where this is a habit for you, then once you think about it and then you think it maybe again, you're like, okay, I should go to the gym today. I'm gonna go to the gym. And as the day passes, and the time approaches, you're like kind of like really overthinking it. You're like, should I really go today? Could maybe I go tomorrow instead? Feels like a lot to do. Then I have to get ready and I have to get myself there. Of course, if you think like this and you rationalize it like this, it's gonna feel like a lot of work. You're gonna be tired by thinking about it. And you haven't even worked out yet. This applies to absolutely everything. Once I give my brain the chance to think about something, it's always going to find excuses for why you should not do this right now. Going back to the previous point and connecting them, sort of. I mean, they are definitely connected. Once you have the plan, you already know, this is it. This is how my week is gonna play out. And then the day comes, and it might still happen that you convince yourself to not do something, but the point here is just doing it and not thinking about doing it. Avoiding that part of the process makes you more likely to actually follow through and do whatever you set yourself to do. I read a book last year about this. I will leave it somewhere for you. And it talked about a countdown method, which I actually found quite useful. And I've done it several times ever since I read this book and since I learned about it. Basically, it consists of counting backwards from 3 to 0 or maybe 5 from 0, whatever works for you best. Once 0 hits, you just have to get up and do the thing. How easy does that sound? Once 0 hits, you have no excuse to not do the thing. You simply must get up and do it. So I encourage you to try this. If you struggle with the same things, whether that is getting up from bed in the morning at a decent time without scrolling on your phone for like an hour or 2 or 3, sometimes I've done that. And I'm not judging you. I am truly not judging you. How do you think I found out all these things? Trial and error, baby. And a lot of research. For myself. Motivation, unfortunately, doesn't take us very far, so these are just tools to help with that. Speaking of tools, and in the topic of productivity, the biggest micro habit or micro action that I always recommend everybody is get yourself an app blocker. Right now. This is not sponsored. I don't think I have to clarify that. But I use the app Opal if you need some inspiration to find one. And this is 100% by far the best thing I got myself in a long time. It has all these amazing features. You can set up like working times, or you can call it whatever, but you can choose which apps you would like to have blocked. In my case, I have Instagram, I have Twitter or X, which I don't even use that much, and TikTok, obviously, Threads, apps like this. I don't necessarily block WhatsApp just in case, but I do tend to put my phone away when I'm working, when I'm filming, when I'm doing these things, so it's still helping. You can snooze the session for a certain amount of times, or you can leave early if you want. I do not recommend that. It also has some like difficulty modes. You have the normal session in which you can snooze or cancel the session in the middle of it, or you can be on timeout, in which every time you snooze, the waiting time in between snoozing is longer and longer and longer. So you will think twice about snoozing. And of course, you have the pro option. For this option, you have to pay, but it's a deep focus option in which you are not allowed to snooze or end the session early. It also has this amazing feature in which if you're in the middle of a session and you click on one of the blocked apps, for instance, Instagram, you're gonna get these funny messages that are gonna make you feel kind of bad to have even tried to open that app. So I 100% recommend. You need this in your life, just like I needed it. It's absolutely insane how many times I find myself mindlessly clicking on apps just because. It just comes automatically. It's like a muscle memory kind of thing. And I don't really mean to, but once you're in it, then you start seeing things and you just get lost on the scrolling. This is the thing that you avoid with this kind of app blockers such as Opal or any others. There's really so many out there. This is the one I found and that works for me the best. I use it every single day. And since then, I have to say, I have really reduced the amount of time I spend on my phone, especially on mindless scrolling sessions. Create a reward system. This is as straightforward as it sounds. There's really not so much to explain here other than this works, but it might not work for everybody. This is the story of how we play consciously and intentionally with our dopamine levels. We are not allowing TikTok or Instagram to control this for us. We are the ones controlling it here. In a few words, this consists of doing something that you consider rewarding, that maybe you find exciting or fun, or it's simply something that makes you feel good after doing something that is a bit more challenging for you to do. For example, going back to the gym scenario, and this is something I do. Every time I come back from the gym, I shower using one of my most expensive gels that I've ever bought. I only use it if I'm going to the gym. If I don't go to the gym, I'm not allowed to use it, period. And you're wondering, why does a gel motivate me? I don't know, but it does. It does. It feels special. Feels like I deserve to use it. If I fulfill my workout as planned, then I deserve to use it. If I work for an hour, I will get myself an ice cream. I don't know, something like that. This does not apply to buying more books because you read one that you own. That is not the reward system we're talking about. Is that something I do? Yes. We're not judging me now. We are judging you. So the bottom line of this principle is that every time you do something rewarding after another not so rewarding or immediately rewarding task, is that eventually you start correlating them. You start connecting the good sensations of dopamine with the dread of getting yourself to do something. So it will become a pleasant experience after all, to do that thing that you're always avoiding. Get yourself a wind down night routine. Having a little routine before going to bed that signals your brain that this is it, day's over, we're done, is essential for a good quality sleep and to also fall asleep faster. Mind you, me personally, I've rarely had any problems with falling asleep. Ever. But sleep quality is something that no matter what kind of sleeper you are, it really depends on what you do throughout your day and especially what you do right before bed. So, science says that winding down by avoiding any screen time at least 1 hour before going to sleep. You can perhaps journal your thoughts, read a book you've been meaning to get to, whatever else that makes you slow down, gives you no blue light, and this will automatically boost your melatonin production. This is exactly what will make the quality of your sleep improve by a million. Doing this every single night, building that routine, will make your brain eventually learn the pattern, and the next day, I promise you, you will be way more energetic and you will be way more likely to have the motivation to tackle that to-do list. Not everything is physical habits. Not everything is going to sleep early or drinking a lot of water or having app blockers. A lot of the success of finding happiness and living a fulfilling life comes from here. I didn't want to do this video without talking about some mindset micro habits. Implementing them, having these views, learning these perspectives taught me to approach life in a very different way. And for me, as cliche or as simple or as stupid, whatever you want to call them as they may sound, they really made a difference. And I want to start talking about gratitude. I didn't always have the best circumstances out there. And even lately, I can speak from experience. I've been personally going through a lot of tough life situations. And I found that in the past, when maybe things were not as tough, and maybe they were, or maybe they were in just different ways, but I could really notice how past me would have confronted those situations and those feelings versus nowadays, having had this change in mindset. Gratitude is one of the things that one learns. I don't think it comes natural. I don't think it comes straight away. It's not easy sometimes. It's almost for everybody easier to complain rather than see the good things in every situation, rather than be grateful for what we do have and not focus on the things we don't or the things that are not going well. And again, in my experience, learning to look around and pay attention to the little things, the things in my life that I was able to build, or simply take a walk around the city and just look around and look at my surroundings and say, wow, this is my life. Having that realization immediately humbles you down. Right in the moment when you realize, look at the friends I have, look at the family I was blessed with, everything I get to experience every single day, that other people may not be so lucky as me. And even when we think we have it bad, there's always somebody out there who's gonna have it worse. And that's not to say what you're going through is not valid. That's not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying. Whatever you're going through is extremely valid. What I'm asking you is to focus on the good things, is to be able to wake up every day and feel lucky that you get to experience life one more day. And I think that is beautiful. That is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to look at life. This definitely goes hand in hand with my next point, and that is romanticize your life. I am an expert in romanticizing my life. I said it. I am basically constantly in a Disney movie, 24/7. And this doesn't make me or you naive. It makes you somebody who wants to be happy and enjoy life. You see, my belief is having a happy life is not measured by how many things we have achieved or will achieve, but instead is fully dependent on how much you enjoy the process of life. And what is life if not taking one day at a time? Take time for yourself. Schedule solo dates. Enjoy that cup of coffee or matcha tea and sit down and fully experience it. Don't rush life from one, I need to do this, to the next. Be intentional in whatever you're doing. Try to be as present in the moment as you can. And for me, that is what romanticizing life means. Is every single one of these points making me look more weird than the previous one? Perhaps. But here we go. And the next point I found finally implemented in my life, changed my whole human experience, is trying my best to get rid of my poker face, more commonly known as a bitch face. Believe it or not, I have one of those that I walk around with every single day. All the time. Especially when I'm by myself on like public transportation or like walking through the street by myself. And this might come to you as a shock, but I learned how to smile at strangers. Just because. Women or men, it doesn't matter. Just people I don't know. It's not that I didn't want to be nice in the past, by any means, but I am one of those people that has a bitch face kind of naturally, and I've always wondered, why do I not seem so approachable to people sometimes? And I had so many good friends of mine nowadays telling me that when they first met me, especially if they didn't get the chance to talk to me first and like they saw me from a distance or whatever, and once they actually got to talk to me, they were surprised that I was the way I was because I looked completely different and I was probably giving like death looks out there without really wanting to. I don't know.
Hello there, I just wanted to quickly pop in here to apologize for the frames in which the focus is not the best. I am working with a DSLR camera that refuses to collaborate with me on this. I'm still trying my best to figure things out, so hopefully you can still enjoy, find value, and get something out of the things I talk about in this video. Thank you, and let's keep watching.
I made it a point to start smiling at people, and you'd be surprised how many people I've met and how many good conversations I ended up having just because I smiled at somebody that I didn't know. And just a simple gesture, even if nothing comes out of it, most people are actually nice and they will smile back at you. And this small exchange, this small interaction, many times have made my day. It's scientifically proven. Science, bitch.
Yes, science!
You don't actually need to talk to somebody in one day to feel like you fulfilled your social needs. Just being around people, smiling at people, going to the gym and see people working out just like you are, or going somewhere where people are sharing an experience, even if it is individually, all of those happy hormones that we love. You don't actually need to make conversations. You don't actually need to meet with somebody. That is why also taking yourself out, going for a coffee where everybody else is also having coffee, and then you're like enjoying this, we are all having coffee together, or matcha tea, or a nice hot beverage. Trust me, this will make your life so much happier. Especially you introverted people like myself here. I know I might not look like it because I talk a lot, but I promise you, I love myself my me time. Understanding this next thing is gonna break or make for you. Failure should never deter you. It should never stop you from keeping on trying. In fact, if you're failing at something, you're doing it right. If you're not failing, it means you're not even trying. And that is what should concern you. Failing is the best thing that can happen to you. Sure, we all love to succeed. Our failures teach us many things, and they are absolutely necessary. I grew up my entire life being afraid of failure. I've always been a perfectionist. I, in fact, have a video about that. I would link it somewhere here for you to check it out if you would like to. But I essentially grew up running from doing anything that I knew would not come out perfectly, which is essentially impossible. And I cannot imagine how many opportunities I essentially gave up on, or how many things never happened in my life because I had this mindset. And listen to me, when I say failure is the only way, I mean it. Truth be told, failing feels vulnerable. It feels scary. It feels like opening your heart out and not knowing what to expect, and then it coming out wrong and feeling like all the effort and work you put in didn't serve you anything. But that is where you're extremely wrong. Nobody, or very few people, and very lucky people at that, have managed to try something that was worth trying and succeeding at the first try. Nobody. It's just simply not likely. And the faster you learn that, the sooner you can start living your life. At the end of the day, we only have one try in this life, but you have many for that thing you always wanted to do. Failure is the best teacher that there is. There's a beautiful quote I found on Forbes Quotes. It really resonated with me, and I'm gonna read it to you in case it does as well. And it goes like this. Failure is, in a sense, the highway to success, inasmuch as every discovery of what is false leads us to seek earnestly after what is true, and every fresh experience points out some form of error which we shall afterwards carefully avoid. And I think this very beautifully so sums up the meaning of this point I'm trying to make. Nobody ever started out having things figured out. Nobody ever started out from success. There are just infinite amount of cases and experiences of people out there, even those that you might look up to. I assure you they didn't get there simply by succeeding. They failed, and they failed a lot. And just having this realization and keeping this in mind, knowing that it's more likely that you will fail that's not, reminding yourself why. What is your why? Why are you doing the things you're doing? Why do you want to get there? Whatever that may be, your why should be your biggest fuel, because every time you will fail, you will just know, I'm doing it right. The last thing I want to talk about in today's video is a principle of life that I have been applying. I guess you can connect this to every single one of the things that I mentioned today in today's video. Motivation does not equal discipline, and discipline does not equal motivation. They are very different things, and sure, they both need each other in a way. And I want you to understand this, because when we're starting out and we want to build a habit, whichever that may be, and I'm gonna go back to the gym example because it's a very easy one for all of these points that I'm making, but you can really apply this to anything. Once you're starting out and you wanna implement a workout routine because you know you wanna be healthy and you want to have all the short-term benefits, which are especially mental benefits, the best kind, in my opinion. If somebody asked me, nobody did, but here I am, giving my opinion once again. And you want to start going to the gym, you would be applying all the things that I've talked about already, but even then, you will find yourself in tough situations, in tough days where you're just tired, you don't want to go, you would prefer to be doing something else. Your brain is fighting against that because it's not in its routine. And that means your brain's main function and goal is to keep you alive, essentially. And implementing new habits into your routines, it's so difficult because the brain is fighting that. The brain is confused. It is confused, it doesn't know what is going on, it thinks this might not be safe. So we're gonna stick to what we know. We're gonna stick to being lazy It's just because this, so far, more or less, but it has worked for us, right? We're alive. It works, right? Wrong. Because what your brain doesn't know consciously is that we have a part in our brains called the midcingulate cortex. Dr. Andrew Huberman talks about this in his podcast. And when I heard what I'm going to tell you next, I was like, I'm going to hold on to this for the rest of my life every single time I don't want to do something. And that is, and this is the important part, every single time you do something you don't want to do, it doesn't really matter what, something you don't want to be doing by any means, but you kind of know it's like good for you, but you just don't want to do it, right? Your midcingulate cortex gets bigger. And as he explains in this podcast, people who have this part of the brains bigger are, for instance, people dieting or athletes. Every single person that is doing something, especially consistently, that they don't want to be doing, the mass of this part of the brain increases. And what this means, or what this means long term, is that we get to live longer. It is scientifically proven that people with a bigger midcingulate cortex are people who live longer than the people whose this part of the brain is not so developed. And this, for me, is the foundation for willpower and discipline. If that is not motivation enough, I don't know what will be.